In spring 1942, the U.S. Army turned the abandoned town site of Manzanar, California, into a camp that would confine over 10,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese immigrants. Margaret Ishino Statansi later said, "I was put into a camp as an American citizen, which is against the Constitution because I had no due process. I was only because of my ancestry." For decades before World War II, politicians, newspaper, labor leaders fueled anti-Asian sentiment in the Western United States. Laws prevented immigrants from becoming citizens or owning land. Immigrant children were born U.S. citizens, yet they too faced prejudice. Japan's December 7, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor intensified hostilities towards people of Japanese ancestry. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066 on February 19, 1942, authorizing the military to remove any or all persons from the West Coast under the direction of Lieutenant General John L. DeWitt. The Army applied the order to everyone of Japanese ancestry, including over 70,000 U.S. citizens. DeWitt said, "You just can't tell one Jap from another. They all look the same. A Jap's a Jap." They were from cities and farms, young and old, rich and poor. They had only days or weeks to prepare. Business closed, classrooms emptied, families and friends separated. Ultimately, the government deprived over 120,000 people of their freedom. Half were children and young adults. 10,000 were incarcerated at Manzanar. From this one camp came 10,000 stories. This wall holds the names of over 120,000 Japanese citizens and immigrants. This is the ugly history of the United States that many people just don't want to talk about. The United States has been, since its existence, been treating minorities that are United States citizens as second-class citizens, as less than. While the United States housed the Japanese in these encampments, there was also some other people being housed in encampments in the United States. And that was German soldiers, Nazis. And the Nazis were being treated better than citizens of the United States. Why? Because they looked like them. Because they looked like Americans. Or what Americans thought Americans should look like. Americans, to this day, some don't believe that brown people, Asian people, hell, even black people are equal to them. So when people think and say you shouldn't talk about racial inequality, that it's just long gone, there's people alive to this day that were in these encampments. There's people alive to this day that still have effects from what happened in these encampments. All the while, we're in Nazi Germany fighting the Nazis because of what they're doing to the Jewish people, but America wasn't seeing what they were doing to the Japanese, to the African Americans, to the brown men of America. And now in the United States, the brown man can be disrespected, can be called a wetback, can be used to start a political campaign. And when I saw this encampment, it gave me chills. It reminded me of the ugliness of the USA. Don't get me wrong, I love this country. It has helped me provide for my family. But I also won't be a fool to believe that the politicians in power are not capable of doing stuff like this. This is a big eye-opener for me. And I'm just so glad I drove by this place and stopped. I wasn't sure what to expect. I actually didn't even know it was what it was. I just saw a historic site. I need to come see it. And I did. And now I'm sharing it with all of you so you can see some history. Veterans from wars past. The loyalty that the Japanese people still had for the United States, even though the United States had turned their back on them, was unbelievable. We, not only as minorities, but as citizens of this country, been enslaved, put in encampments, deported from our own lands, and treated worse than the German Nazis. This is the truth, and the truth hurts.